Claire, a young mother, lived a simple life, but one filled with love. She was 25 years old and had a 3-year-old daughter named Helena. For Claire, Helena was the center of her world, the light that brightened her days, and the smile that colored her mornings. They lived in a small house surrounded by a garden that Claire tended to with dedication. Ever since Helena was born, Claire had devoted herself entirely to her daughter, finding joy in the little moments of daily life, the first smile, the first steps, and the nights filled with lullabies. Although she faced the usual challenges of being a young and single mother, Claire had a strong connection to her roots, to the traditions passed down by her grandmother, a wise woman who believed in the healing power of nature and the spiritual energy that guides us. Since she was a little girl, Claire had learned about plants, prayers, and the importance of keeping one's soul connected to the earth. Her life, up until then, had been simple, but it was full of meaning and love. But fate, in its unpredictability, brought a storm that Claire could never have imagined. Claire noticed that Helena, usually a vibrant and energetic child, was becoming increasingly weak. At first, it seemed like just a common cold, but the symptoms worsened. Worried, Claire rushed her daughter to the doctors. After a series of tests and treatments that did not work, the devastating news came: Helena had a rare and aggressive disease. The treatments offered little hope, and each day became a painful battle for both mother and daughter. For months, Claire fought alongside Helena, keeping hope alive. But the battle was short and cruel. One day, Helena closed her eyes for the last time, and with her, it felt like all of Claire's life had faded away too. Losing Helena was like the ground beneath Claire's feet disappeared, leaving her in freefall. Grief, like a massive shadow, consumed her completely. At first, it seemed impossible to accept reality, as if her mind refused to process her daughter's absence. The house, once filled with laughter and the little messes that children make, was now engulfed in suffocating silence. Claire felt utterly lost, as though a part of her had died along with Helena. Every corner of the house brought back memories that tore at her heart. Helena's clothes were still there, her favorite toy still on the bed, and her absence was a constant, unrelenting pain. Claire, once so full of life, withdrew, pushing away friends, family, and even the small routines that used to bring her joy. The days blurred together, and time seemed to lose meaning. She looked at herself in the mirror and no longer recognized the woman staring back. The pain of losing Helena was too deep to be put into words, and Claire sank further into an abyss of sorrow. She couldn't see a future, couldn't imagine a life without her daughter. Each sunrise felt like the weight of the world on her shoulders was becoming more unbearable. Sometimes, Claire questioned her very existence. She asked herself why something so cruel had happened to her, why she had lost the most important person in her life. On her loneliest nights, dark thoughts invaded her mind. The sadness pushed her deeper into a dark, bottomless pit. People around her tried to offer comfort, but nothing seemed to penetrate the wall of pain that surrounded her. Claire shut herself off, as though the outside world was no longer part of her reality. She felt empty, purposeless, directionless. Grief had taken everything from her: her smile, her energy, her will to live. It was in this state of utter desolation that Claire hit rock bottom. Life, which had once seemed so full of meaning, was now a void where the only feeling left was pain. One day, after weeks of being submerged in the darkness of grief, Claire decided to walk through the woods behind her house. It was a place she had often visited with Helena, and simply being there brought a wave of sadness but also a deep desire to connect with something greater. Perhaps, unconsciously, she was searching for some kind of answer or peace. As she walked among the trees, she felt a soft breeze, almost like a whisper. Claire, who had heard so many stories from her grandmother about the power of nature, felt strangely comforted by that moment. She sat beneath a large tree, silent tears streaming down her face. It was then that a figure appeared in the distance, walking toward her. It was an older man with a calm appearance, dressed simply and carrying a staff. He approached slowly, without saying a word, and sat down next to Claire. For a while, they sat in silence, as if sharing the pain Claire felt without the need for words. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm and deep. "The pain you feel is like the fire that consumes the earth. But sometimes it is in that burned soil where new seeds are born, he said, looking out at the horizon. Claire, who until then had found no solace in words or advice, felt something different in this man. It was as though his words carried an ancestral weight, something that touched her heart directly. "What I lost cannot be replaced," Claire replied, her voice broken. "No, it cannot," he agreed. "But what you carry within you can transform this pain into something greater. Life is a cycle, and in every end, there is also a new beginning. Your daughter left a mark on you, and that mark can be your strength for the future." Claire looked at the man, trying to understand what he meant. The pain was still unbearable, but for the first time, she felt there might be a possibility, however distant, of something beyond the suffering. The man, who she would later learn was a wise elder named Anton, began visiting her regularly, always bringing words of wisdom rooted in nature, spirituality, and ancestry. He shared ancient stories about mothers who, like her, had lost their children but had found strength to continue through the earth and traditions. Pain, he said, was a difficult companion, but one that could be transformed into a different kind of energy, a force to help others. Over time, Claire began to absorb these words, though she still struggled to find peace. Anton never pressured her to follow a specific path, but offered small reflections and teachings. He taught her rituals of healing, not just for the body but for the soul, involving plants, prayers, and quiet moments with nature. Claire started participating in these rituals, initially with skepticism, but soon realized they brought a calm, even if temporary, to her mind. She felt, little by little, that she was reconnecting with her roots, with her grandmother's traditions, and with something much larger than herself. Something ancestral that tied her to the earth and to the many women who, like her, had faced and overcome unimaginable losses. Once Claire began applying the teachings Anton had shared with her, her life slowly but steadily shifted towards healing. It wasn't an easy path, nor a linear one. Many days were still filled with sadness, but now there was a small beacon of hope guiding her steps. Anton taught her the importance of ritualizing her pain, of turning it into a ceremony of healing. Claire started waking up early, before sunrise, to meditate beneath the large tree in the woods. It was a time she dedicated to Helena, offering her deepest thoughts and silent prayers, asking for peace for her daughter's spirit and her own. Anton taught her how to use sacred plants in her ceremonies: rosemary for clarity, lavender for tranquility, and sage for purification. Slowly, these rituals became a balm for her soul. Even so, the journey was full of ups and downs. There were days when Claire still felt engulfed by despair, as though the loss was fresh, burning in her chest. But in those moments, she remembered Anton's words: "Pain is like the wind that sways the trees. You cannot control the direction of the wind, but you can learn to bend the branches without breaking." This metaphor became her guide on the most difficult days. The first major challenge for Claire came when a close friend, Martha, reached out to her for advice. Martha was also a mother, and her child had fallen ill. Desperate and not knowing what to do, she remembered the strength Claire seemed to be building and asked for help. Initially, Claire felt incapable of offering any support. How could she advise someone when she was still healing from her own pain? But Anton's words echoed in her mind: healing comes from the act of caring, both for yourself and for others. That was when Claire realized that perhaps her own journey could help other mothers facing similar situations. Still uncertain, she began sharing with Martha the teachings she had learned about plants, healing rituals, and, most importantly, patience with herself. They spent hours in Claire's garden, preparing infusions and teas, and finally, in a gesture of generosity that surprised even herself, Claire taught Martha to pray the way her grandmother used to, asking for protection and healing for her son. This small victory, this act of care and connection, brought Claire a sense of purpose she had completely lost. For the first time, she understood that maybe her mission, after Helena's death, was to use her own experience and the ancestral knowledge she had received to help other mothers face their own battles. In time, word spread about Claire's ability to care for and guide other women. Mothers from the community began seeking her advice on how to manage their children's health, the struggles of motherhood, and even their own inner pain. Claire didn't see herself as a healer, but increasingly, she was viewed as a spiritual guide, someone who could offer more than just natural remedies. She provided comfort, a listening ear, and above all, hope. However, Claire's journey was not without its challenges. Each time she helped another mother, she was forced to confront her own pain. Many times, seeing other children playing or hearing a mother talk about her child reminded Claire of Helena. The longing hit her hard, but instead of letting it consume her, Claire learned to channel that pain into her work, using it as fuel to keep helping. Small victories began to accumulate. Claire saw children recovering with the infusion she prepared, mothers finding comfort in the healing rituals, and she felt the community around her growing stronger. She herself, through these connections, began to feel more alive, more present, as if Helena, in some way, was walking beside her, guiding her steps. Anton continued to visit her, always with simple yet profound words of wisdom. He watched her with a proud gaze, as though he had known, from the very first meeting, that Claire was destined for this path. One day he said, "You've become the bridge between the world of the living and the spirits, between pain and healing. Your journey is the journey of all women who have ever walked the earth, and the wisdom you carry transcends time." These words resonated deeply with Claire. The idea that her pain was not an end, but the beginning of something greater, something that connected her to an endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth, brought her a peace she had never imagined possible. As the months passed, Claire's transformation became evident, not just to her but to the entire community. Where there had once been a woman devastated by grief, there now stood someone with a serene and strong presence, carrying within her a wisdom that transcended her own experience. The pain was still there, for the longing for Helena would always be a part of her life, but that pain had now been transformed into a driving force. Claire dedicated herself even more to her mission of helping other mothers. She not only offered natural remedies and healing rituals, but she also created a space of warmth, where women could share their pain, anxieties, and doubts. Her house, which had once been a place of sorrow and silence, was now full of life again. The garden bloomed, and just like the plants she cultivated, Claire too was blossoming, nourished by the connections with the other mothers and by the ancestral energy that guided her path. One of Claire's greatest achievements was the creation of a mother's circle. Every week, women from the community gathered at her house to share their stories, lessons, and challenges. In that space, Claire taught the rituals she had learned from her grandmother and Anton. They lit candles in honor of their children and offered prayers of gratitude for life. It was a moment of collective healing, where each woman found a piece of herself in the other's experience. The circle became a symbol of strength and unity. During these gatherings, Claire spoke of Helena with a serenity she had once been unable to reach. Her daughter, though physically absent, was present in every act of healing, in every word of comfort that Claire offered. "She taught me the value of unconditional love," Claire would say to the other mothers, "and it is that love I now pass on." Each time she shared this story, it felt as though she was honoring Helena's memory in a way that brought her peace. Claire's transformation was also reflected in her spiritual growth. She felt a deeper connection to nature and the ancestral energies. At times, during moments of deep meditation, she sensed Helena's presence beside her, as if the little girl was guiding her steps. It was a feeling of comfort and peace, something she had never imagined possible when she first lost her daughter. One of the most significant moments of this rebirth came when Claire was invited to speak at a community event about motherhood and healing. Initially, the idea of speaking in public scared her. But as she stepped onto the stage, with dozens of mothers looking at her, something inside Claire ignited. She began telling her story, from the darkest moments to the path of light she had found. Her words touched the hearts of everyone present, and many of the women in the audience were deeply moved, recognizing in Claire a strength that mirrored their own struggles. When she finished her speech, Claire felt a sense of relief, as though she had finally closed a chapter. As she stepped down from the stage, she was met with hugs, thank yous, and tears of gratitude. Her story, marked by pain and overcoming, was now a source of inspiration for so many other women facing their own battles. But Claire's impact extended beyond just the mothers she helped. Her connection with the community had grown so deep that she became seen as a spiritual leader, someone capable of guiding not just mothers, but anyone seeking healing and peace. She never sought this position, but her humility, compassion, and wisdom naturally placed her in that role. People came to her for advice, rituals, and even just to be in her presence, knowing that they would find comfort there. Anton, who still visited her occasionally, observed her with a mixture of pride and serenity. On one of these visits, he said something that Claire would never forget. "What you have done with your pain is what few can achieve. You turned it into light. You are like a tree that grows back after the fire, stronger and wiser. And now, that light is not just yours, it belongs to everyone who crosses your path." Those words were engraved in Claire's heart. She finally understood that her journey was not just about overcoming Helena's loss, but about transforming her own pain into something that could help others heal their wounds. The spirituality she had found was not just a way to find solace, but a means to reconnect with life, with the community, and, in a way, with her daughter. Claire's story is one of rebirth, of how love and spirituality can transform even the deepest pain into something of immeasurable value. Claire lost her daughter, but instead of allowing that loss to destroy her, she found the strength to rebuild herself and, in doing so, discovered a new purpose for her life. Today, Claire is a recognized healer in her community. Her work goes beyond using plants or rituals. It extends to the emotional and spiritual care of the people who seek her out. Her circle of mothers has grown, and now they gather not only to heal their pain but to celebrate life, their children, and the connections they have formed. The final message Claire leaves is simple but powerful. Life is full of cycles. Sometimes, we lose what we love the most, but pain doesn't have to be the end. There is a new beginning waiting for us if we are open to it. Spirituality and the wisdom of our ancestors can guide us, even in the darkest moments. And through love, we can transform even the greatest pain into light. This story teaches us that even when everything seems to fall apart, there is always a reason to keep going. Claire is proof that, with resilience, support, and faith, we can find our way back to life, even when the pain feels unbearable.